Welcome to Book 2 in the Horrors and Hoagies series, Tortured Souls. In this, we will cover chapters 9 through chapter 8. We encourage you to immerse yourself in the exciting events that unfold. From thrilling action scenes to heart-pumping moments of suspense, Tortured Souls is sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. We appreciate your support and hope that you continue to enjoy the journey we have in store for you. Chapter 8, Kindness of Strangers.
Siddiqui trudged wearily through the dimly lit streets, his tired feet shuffling along and breaking the stillness of the night. The gentle breeze brushed against his face, carrying the alluring aroma of street food and distant laughter from closed cafes. His once fashionable shoes now felt unbearably uncomfortable, a constant reminder of the countless errands he had to run for the pharaoh. Each step he took weighed him down, both physically and emotionally. Once an esteemed community member, Siddiqui now felt like a mere shadow amidst the bustling crowds. There was no longer satisfaction in serving the ruler. Instead, he yearned for acceptance and connection. In the past few weeks, he had lost track of the number of times he sought solace in the quiet corners of a deserted diner when all other establishments seemed to be slumbering. He rounded the corner and spotted the glowing neon sign of Mona's Diner. The darkness of the night made it stand out even more. Siddiqui felt a surge of optimism as he pictured the cozy atmosphere and welcoming people waiting for him inside. His hunger intensified, urging him to hurry. As Siddiqui stepped inside, a soft chime welcomed him. The comforting aroma of freshly brewed coffee and delicious food enveloped him like a warm embrace. Memories of seeking solace and nourishment within the walls of Mona's came rushing back, filling him with nostalgia. Siddiqui's eyes wandered across the diner, soaking in the atmosphere. He eyed the worn-out vinyl booths, vintage jukeboxes, and the photographs of contented customers adorning the walls. Familiar faces flashed through his mind, although their names eluded him. In this ordinary yet comforting haven, the outside world seemed dull in comparison, and Siddiqui found solace in the simple rhythm of everyday life. Settling into his usual spot of his go-to late-night diner, Siddiqui reminisced when he stumbled upon this hidden gem almost a year ago. The food was top-notch, and the coffee was piping hot, providing comfort from self-doubt and loneliness. As he lounged in an empty booth, he rummaged through his pockets, hoping to scrounge up enough change for a cup of joe. After sifting through a pile of receipts, lint, and forgotten trinkets, his chubby fingers finally stumbled upon a small stash of coins. As his heart sank, Siddiqui realized that his few remaining coins wouldn't be enough to pay for the drink he wanted. But then, a friendly waitress approached him with a smile. Her eyes were filled with warmth and genuine kindness. "What can I get you tonight?" she inquired. Siddiqui's stomach grumbled in agreement as he asked, "Can I get a cup of coffee, please?" His voice quivered slightly with hunger. The waitress picked up on Siddiqui's desire for something sweet with his coffee. She disappeared and returned with a tray, carrying a cup of coffee and a delicious slice of warm apple pie. The smell of pie was heavenly and made Siddiqui momentarily forget his troubles. The waitress placed the coffee and pie before him and whispered, "It's on us." Siddiqui's eyes filled with tears as he forced a grateful smile. "I appreciate it, thank you," he said, his voice barely audible. She gently patted his hand before returning to her other duties, giving him a wink and a confident stride. The constant noise of clanging dishes and talking people created a soothing background, and Siddiqui found comfort in their familiar rhythm. With every bite of the warm pie and sip of coffee, Siddiqui relished the flavors that danced on his tongue. It wasn't merely a meal, but a brief escape from his ongoing struggles. It was a reminder that there were people who saw beyond his appearance and understood his true essence. As he finished his food, Siddiqui knew his financial worries would have to wait another day. At that moment, all that mattered was the simple act of kindness he had received. Mona's had transformed from a regular diner into a haven where Siddiqui found nourishment for his body and soul.
Chapter 9, The House Always Wins. The house always wins.
The casino industry always abides by this saying. Any seasoned player could attest to its accuracy. Games were manipulated by handpicking individuals to claim jackpots to instill a glimmer of hope in the masses. However, deep down, everyone understood it was all an elaborate spectacle. Mac was a master at the casino, effortlessly captivating even the most seasoned poker players and making them forget about the daunting odds. Most people who walked through the doors were there to test their luck rather than expecting to leave with a fortune. Mac, an ancient vampire, always dressed to impress when meeting the public. His extravagant clothing and expensive jewelry gave him the appearance of a true casino owner. The bouncers wore formal attire to intimidate, the dealers sported caps and suspenders in a servile fashion, and the barkeeps exuded a casual charm. Each person working in Mac's casinos played their role as an actor in a nightly stage show. Someone had taken a chance on a fresh game. Papa Mac's responsibility was to ensure they grasped the industry's golden rule: the house always emerged victorious. People often believed they could defy this age-old principle, a possible driving force behind these new players too. Nevertheless, they were in his domain, playing a game within his four walls. Papa Mac had developed a genuine appreciation for the show in the gambling industry. For centuries, his kind had viewed this as a taboo. Unlike other vampires who treated humans as livestock to exploit, Papa Mac saw the value in putting on a spectacle. It was clear to him that the traditional approach had never yielded positive results. Throughout history, every tyrannical parasite has met its demise either by the blade of a witch hunter or at the hands of an angry mob wielding torches. Eventually, every predator lurking in the streets had been relentlessly pursued. The belief in their superiority has always been the downfall of the older vampires who sought to control a significant portion of humanity for sustenance. The situation had become so dire that the only surviving elders of his kind were those who possessed cunning and discretion. The rest had met their fate at the hands of their own food. Papa Mac's whole perspective shattered when he grew up and gained enough influence. Those he used to see as a means of survival now protected him fiercely, like raging demons. His homeland had become a deadly trap as other vampires became angry about his mistreatment of their food source. Eventually, he and his loyal followers embarked on a perilous voyage to America, settling in one of its grimiest and most hazardous cities. He had stumbled upon the perfect spot to build his empire. His connection with the local underworld Baron Adam Stein had transformed his life. The hulking figure introduced him to groundbreaking medical advancements, like extracting blood through autologous donations. The vampire was captivated by the sheer brilliance of human innovation from the moment he witnessed the procedure. The Baron's kind-heartedness also helped Mac. Within a few months of Mac's arrival, the Baron assisted him in setting up an opportunity, which allowed him to open his small casino. Instead of following in the footsteps of his predecessors and pursuing a career in politics or law enforcement, Mac took a different route after realizing the inevitable danger he would face from humans in those fields. From his early days in New York, he had established a notorious reputation within the city's criminal underworld. He thrived on preying upon the dim-witted or troublemaking criminals, all the while endearing himself to the oppressed masses who sought solace in alcohol and entertainment. As time went on, his family grew in size. The vampires who enforced his commands and the humans in his employ were well taken care of, thanks to the abundance of money and blood flowing into his possession. The unwavering loyalty fostered by this arrangement allowed further expansion into various illicit enterprises that sustained the city's hidden criminal realm. Competitors were attracted by his success. The human gangsters who survived the criminal world were either his willing employees or smart enough to keep pace with his empire. The rest who recognized the city's potential were permitted to coexist, as long as they adhered to the rules set by Baron Adam's developing council. The only real challenges he faced were from other vampires who arrived in town. It was ironic to him that vampires had become their own worst enemy. The other monsters and immigrants from his homeland who were envious of his success were now his biggest rivals. He had seen this coming since he started his business in America, but it wasn't until today that he realized the extent of the situation. A Scottish vampire bootlegger was causing Mac a headache. He ruled the production of supernatural booze with an iron fist and was as cunning as a mongoose in a field of snakes. Mac regretted not sending Lorenzo to negotiate with him. However, a gift of the richest O-negative blood in stock smoothed things over and they started a business on the right foot. Jimmy's meddling had caused issues with the blood reserves, making it a nightmare for the moderately large group of vampires. Mac wished he could kill him again for all the trouble he caused. Meanwhile, Lorenzo was still negotiating as Mac headed to the casino vault. A massive hole had been blasted into the wall, creating a spacious opening where 3 of his crew could easily fit. Inside the vault where they stored their cash and other valuables, a handful of dollar bills and diamonds lay scattered across the floor. Meanwhile, his dedicated team was diligently tallying the enormous amount of money and precious gems in the adjacent rooms. They were trying to discover what was stolen and examining the serial numbers and chemical traces. He had arranged for scent tracker wolves with the Black Fang. They were a pack of freelancers who did dirty work without questions. They were not under the control of the local alpha and were experts in tracking and light intimidation of known cheaters. He had sent Polina to negotiate with their leader a few years ago and used their connection to make a deal where he could easily track the prized items in the vault. However, 2 wolves had found no trails leading away from the vault despite an hour-long search. They were now sulking in frustration with his human money counters, waiting for their next opportunity to hunt. The vault had a secret section that served as a blood bank. It was massive, taking up 3 times the space of the front end, and always filled to the brim with refrigeration units, coolers, medical equipment, and jars of blood. The technology was top-notch and not yet available to the public. He only had access to it because of his bond with Adam, which had grown stronger after the Baron's close call to death. Papa Mac's crime syndicate had played a significant role in saving the Baron's life. As he made his way through the scattered debris, Papa Mac examined the damaged wall of his supposedly impenetrable vault. It had cost a fortune to install and was the most secure in the country. Now it was in shambles thanks to Jimmy's incompetence as head of the facility. Papa Mac called over one of his team members, Carter, to take a closer look at the strange substance he had spotted between the steel plates of the wall.
Carter, can you tell me what this is?
He asked, pointing to the dusty residue. Carter poked at the inside of the vault and felt its texture with his fingers before responding.
Hi, boss, it's concrete. And it's not even properly done. They didn't use enough water in the mix. That's why there are these dusty spots.
The man seemed worried as he stepped back and examined the wall more closely.
You know what, boss? I have a feeling this wall was supposed to be solid still. It doesn't make sense to use such a flimsy material.
Boss, you gotta see this,
yelled Andre, one of the guys working with him. Carter and Andre had been in the construction business for ages before they joined the team. He had hired them for their skills and was grateful for their sharp observation on the site tonight. Papa Mac watched as Carter moved through the opening in the wall, entering a hollow as big as a bus. Andre stood nearby, by the original entrance that the Black Fang had claimed led to a storm drain a short distance away. Curious, Papa Mac asked,
What's going on, Andre?
He couldn't help but smile tiredly at the poor man. Despite entering the tunnel in a pristine business suit, it was covered in mud and dust. Papa Mac couldn't help but be amazed at how even a nice suit and good pay couldn't prevent a contractor from getting dirty. Andre brushed off a layer of dust from the wall, revealing a series of horizontal grooves etched into the surface. He signaled to his assistant to bring a flashlight, hoping to shed more light on the mysterious markings. After brief contemplation, he realized he needed to provide some context.
Hey boss, check this out. These grooves on the wall were meant for something big. It looks like it was here for a while before being removed with great care. I also found some bolt holes on the floor and a small piece of compressor hose. There's not much to go on, but whoever was here took their time to prepare before making their move toward the vault. If it were me, I'd bring some sauce and torches to finish quickly. But these guys went all out, bringing in heavy equipment and cleaning up before leaving.
The mystery grew.
Why would they do that, Andre?
The man's mind was already working through a realm of possibilities.
They probably brought in a generator and heavy hydraulic tools to remove the wall. We haven't found much of the outer layer of the vault yet, so they might have used the big equipment to cut it off, rolled it up, and taken it away.
He gestured towards the storm drain entrance briefly before a thought startled him into silence. Andre shook his head a little, gathering his thoughts, before finally nodding.
Boss, there was an explosion, that much we know. If they had removed the outer layer and removed the faulty concrete, most of the things that could have caused a massive blast would have blown everything in the vault to smithereens.
Explosions tend to keep going, you know what I'm saying. But that's assuming they placed them on the outside of the vault. If someone cleverly planted something like a claymore inside the vault and let it do its thing, it would have caused a mess similar to what we discovered and completely wrecked the room we're in. It seems more like a way to eliminate any evidence rather than a way to break in.
Papa Mac cursed himself yet again, berating his impulsive decision to end Jimmy's life so swiftly. Jimmy had been the sole individual with relatively unrestricted entry to the vault. Frantically contemplating his options, he swiftly inquired.
Why bother with all this heavy machinery, Andre? Couldn't they have sliced it open like you suggested and blown it from within?
My guess, boss, is they brought the stuff to carry everything away. I'll bet if I look I'll find.
Andre was interrupted by one of the accountants who had scurried to the vault hole to get Papa Mac's attention. Papa Mac told Andre to keep working on his idea. Papa gestured for the lady to talk. Without wasting any time, she complied, fixing her green visor and skimming her well-stocked clipboard.
Everything's right here. Well, almost everything, I should say. Only a small amount missing and a handful of precious gems which might still be hiding somewhere, sir.
Papa Mac was shocked. Why would someone break into his vault and not steal a single penny? Even more concerning was that only a few jars of blood were missing, and the Wolf report couldn't explain their whereabouts. The remaining jars spoiled since the refrigeration unit had stopped working. The situation was starting to feel like a piece of a bigger puzzle, something he couldn't quite comprehend. Lorenzo sighed in relief as he stood on the casino floor. The obnoxious Scottish lord and his entourage of leeches had finally departed. It was challenging to keep the casino staff from losing their cool during their visit. Now, Lorenzo could finally take a breather and enjoy himself. However, his plans for relaxation were abruptly interrupted when he found himself in the shadow of the Mongolian. The towering figure was a native of his namesake country. He possessed an exotic handsomeness that was hard to ignore. Standing at an impressive 7 feet tall, the Mongolian was always impeccably dressed, even better than Lorenzo. The constant competition in fashion was a game they played, and Lorenzo took great pride in his modern American taste. The rivalry between the two men had been ongoing for quite some time. To make matters worse, Polina, Lorenzo's constant companion, had been dating the Mongolian for a while. It bothered Lorenzo to no end that this olive-skinned brute had managed to outshine him in every aspect that usually attracted the opposite sex. Polina was drawn to the Mongolian's beauty, strength, and impeccable fashion sense, Lorenzo's preferred tools. It was a constant reminder of his shortcomings, and he couldn't escape hearing about the Mongolian's triumphs from Polina. They had recently come to terms. Lorenzo had extended an olive branch to the man when he found the situation too distracting for his work with Polina. A tense hour over wine and fine food had turned into a burgeoning friendship. Lorenzo glared at the Mongolian.
Who let you in, Bergigan? Did someone mistake you for an oversized bellboy or something? Our staff is generally not so scruffy.
He was tough and mean-faced for the confrontation, causing several ogres to tense up. The Mongolian never cracked a smile. He always had a frown on his face. But that was his secret to success. His dry humor was on point, and his poker face sold it well. He joked.
I'd rather look like the bellboy than the guy outside I gave change to. Want to borrow his cardboard sign? You could finally afford a suit worth more than my shoes.
Lorenzo whistled and cracked his knuckles. The Mongolian turned his shoulder, causing several audible pops as his neck bones adjusted. The two men were the image of imminent, if superbly dressed, violence.
Nothing is more expensive than your damn shoes. I should know, I had them made for you. Your damn big feet need a trust fund to keep in fashion.
They both paused, maintaining eye contact, and the room around them fell silent in anticipation. The Mongolian broke the silence.
Bloody Mary.
Lorenzo quickly shook his head.
How about 2 tumblers and the house bourbon?
The slight nod from the taller man saw them both over to the bar. By the time ice rolled around the amber mixture in their glasses, they were engrossed in comfortable conversion.
That Bloody Mary you had was quite a mess,
rumbled Borjigin. Lorenzo took a long drink, recalling the event.
Sometimes I get carried away when I find a good drink. It may have been messy, but it was a fun party.
Borjigin glared at his Italian counterpart.
You give your kid presents after the party?
Lorenzo patted the Mongolian's shoulder.
Yeah. He liked them by the looks of it. Can never tell with kids these days, but I think we knocked it out of the park this time.
Lena's gonna unleash her fury on me tonight cause I'm on your side. Things might get even more thrilling than usual. If she gets too wild, I'll bill you for a new bed.
Borjigin always found a way to remind Lorenzo of his triumph, even though he knew it would hurt him. Lorenzo switched the topic.
You'll go down in history as the reincarnation of Saint Nicholas for giving my kid a gift that causes silent chaos. I had to pretend it was for me, or he might think he has a new adoptive uncle watching over him.
Lorenzo finished his bourbon and called for another.
Uncle.
Borjigin pondered the idea after saying the foreign word.
Not sure how Alpha would feel about that. It might bother him. I kinda like that.
Always stirring up trouble. That's the real difference between us. I try to keep things running smoothly. You, on the other hand, always find ways to annoy the people around you. You love getting your claws into people, don't you?
The words were a friendly warning.
Besides, you don't want the title. It comes with a stubborn kid who refuses help. My kid has a real independent streak.
Borjigin shrugged ever so slightly.
The kid takes after you. You're right. Alpha says I like getting my claws into people, but I think he means something different than what you do.
Lorenzo got down to business.
Speaking of Alpha, my Bloody Mary bore some fruit. It turns out its tomatoes were shipped fresh from Canada. Paperwork suggests the produce on site was a taste test from interests north of the border.
The Mongolian downed his drink and called for another before replying.
New grocery coming to town.
Lorenzo shook his head.
Not sure yet. Gotta have a market for tomatoes to make any profit from them. They don't sell well locally because we maintain a good supply of tomato soup.
Did have a good supply.
Corrected Borjigin.
It could open an opportunity for a new market in town.
Lorenzo cursed Jimmy Blackfang under his breath for the dozenth time.
Yeah, I'm working on a deal with the Scotsman to get some storage up and running. I figure we can call in a few debts to prevent any tomato sales in town from taking off.
Borjigin didn't seem to like that answer. After a moment of calculation, he posited.
Adding more customers will increase demand for your soup. The Scot has quite a few customers in his employ. You may get more demand than you can deal with.
Not enough to put us in the red. We have deals in place that go back a long time. His meddling in alchemy means he accepts payment in things other than soup.
Lorenzo shivered as he recalled some of the Scotsman's more interesting experiments. It would be a delicate matter to keep the new group under control. It should see the city through the shortage Jimmy had caused, even see a profit. They both took a drink as they pondered the implications of the troubles Jimmy's operation could cause for the city at large. Lorenzo mulled as he eyed his bourbon warily.
If Jimmy invited more friends to the city, there is no evidence of them.
The Mongolian seemed pleased with this, preferring ignorance over the alternative. The big guy never thought Jimmy was the brightest bulb in the box, and he believed the city's average IQ went up after his demise.
I'll inform my Alpha, and will be more vigilant for potential issues.
When the bourbon disappeared again, the two men parted ways. Both had a lot of work and bosses to report to.